We've got a Backstage Jon Moxley update following that brutal AEW Dynamite spot. A new name is being considered for the WWE Hall of Fame, and a TNA and Ring of Honor legend has wrestled his last ever match. It's time for the news. So the big drama from this week in wrestling was Jon Moxley taking a brutal suplex bump onto Spike, the spiked bat. That happened on this week's Dynamite. You will have seen it by now. It was impaled into his back. It took, 10-15 seconds to get it out of there, at which point the skin's stretching. Yep. It's a horrible looking thing. We've got a backstage update regarding the backstage perception of that spot, as well as a bit of an injury update on Moxley himself as well. So despite how it looked, according to a report from Fightful Select, Moxley was said to be okay after the spot, further suggesting that Moxley is indeed fine. Renee Paquette, his wife, sharing a picture of the spot on her Instagram with the words, "My emergency contact." So she's taken it in good spirits as well. According to this report from Fightful, the spot was perceived to be wild by those backstage in attendance. There was a lot of disbelief that it actually happened on the show. We didn't talk about this too much yesterday as far as the danger of the spot. We talked about how mental it is that Jon Moxley was willing to take this bump and the fact that he got impaled. But obviously, there's been a lot of controversy around the fact that he took something that quite literally it could have left him paralyzed. Had it gone wrong, one of those spikes could have impaled in the wrong place, and plenty of those spikes impaled into his back. What are your thoughts on that?
When I initially saw it, obviously, first thought was, that's an insane spot. Oh my God. And then I didn't really think too much about the stuff afterwards, or maybe what the implications could be if that had have gone incredibly wrong.
Yeah, I think it was really dangerous.
Absolutely.
I do feel like there's some double standards with the reaction to this, because I see some of the same people that, celebrate some of Foley's mental spots or some of Funk's mental spots, but they have a particular issue with this one. And that makes me wonder, is this an AEW thing? Is this a Moxley thing? Because people have seemingly turned on Jon Moxley just because of the Death Rider stuff, and people not enjoying that storyline. Anyway, we move over to Dynasty, where Moxley will defend his World Championship, his AEW World Championship, against Swerve Strickland. A huge first-time match is potentially being planned for the show as well. So, cast your minds back a couple of nights. On Dynamite, Mercedes Moné successfully defending her TBS Championship against Billie Starkz. Starkz, of course, very closely tied to Ring of Honor Women's Champion Athena, who posted the following to her social media.
She said, "That's cute, considering it took you over a year to get 16 wins, so let's just agree, minion. 4-0-0-2-3-7 3/4 still sucks, and you're going to have to try harder than that if you want me. With love and anger, Athena."
According to a new report from Fightful Select, there are plans for Athena and Moné to face off in a dream match sometime in the near future, possibly as soon as AEW Dynasty, which takes place in just a few weeks on April the 6th. They have never, ever wrestled one-on-one. They've done stuff, multi-woman action. They've tagged together on occasion in WWE, but they've never had that one-on-one match. They've not worked together in about 6 years as well. I'm really hoping this does happen sooner rather than later, because Athena's awesome. And I think her work in Ring of Honor has been one of the highlights of the brand.
Agreed.
For me, I think she's been so good. She consistently puts on brilliant matches, but because it's on Ring of Honor, I don't think enough people see him.
I think that's it. Her and Billie Starkz have done so much great stuff together, and I think initially, at least us here at Cultaholic on the news as well, have been talking about, it feels like this Billie Starkz match was something, like a little bit of something to finally get to that match with Athena versus Mercedes Moné. And if they wanted to do something, where, as you said, Athena and Billie Starkz have been such a pivotal part of this new Ring of Honor, and perhaps not a lot of people may have watched it, but it's definitely been, at least in my eyes, the most entertaining thing that's been going on that program. If they wanted to do something like, passing of the torch, Athena drops the Ring of Honor Women's Championship to Billie Starkz, and then she can carry that on Ring of Honor, and maybe Athena can come over to the AEW roster full time. Is she the one to defeat Mercedes? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think
she will be. I wouldn't be anti it at all, but I don't think that's happening just yet. But I think it'll be an absolute banger of a match for sure. One man that we've not seen on AEW TV for a little while is Bryan Danielson, who has given us an update via Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, who interviewed Danielson, confirming that he's not signed a new deal with the company. He just said, no, Tony and I were talking on Friday, and he said, we got this all-in on sale event. And Danielson replied, oh, do you want me to come? I'd love to. He goes, yeah, I'd love to see you. So here I am. So he's been attending a few AEW events. He's been backstage and he's at this one. But he hasn't re-signed with the company. We still don't know if or when we're going to see him wrestle again. Yeah. Hopefully it's not the end of it. But he has spoken recently about the fact that he's really enjoying doing stuff behind the scenes. Yeah. Previously, he would have been unsatisfied doing that stuff, not being in the ring and wrestling. But time will tell on that one. We go from Bryan Danielson to a man he once wrestled. One of the most bizarre matches. I can't actually remember where it happened. We were just talking about this before we started filming. It was on an indie show. Was it Ring of? I can't remember where it was. Sure. Let me know in the comments. We're talking about Kamala. So Danielson once wrestled Kamala before he signed with WWE. You can watch the match in full on YouTube. It's been uploaded there. Kamala being considered for the WWE Hall of Fame, with WrestleVotes tweeting.
They said, according to sources, another name being discussed internally for the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2025 is the Ugandan giant Kamala. Kamala, who had a successful career throughout the 80s and 90s, is expected to join Triple H, Lex Luger, and others in this year's class.
Certainly a worthy Hall of Fame inductee. Man, he's a guy who absolutely terrified me as a kid.
Right?
And you look back now, and it's so cartoonish, isn't it? It's all silly. I think he played the character tremendously well. But yeah, he really did scare me. You know what? I hope he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, but I also wish that WWE had helped him out more during his later years.
Yeah.
The guy, double amputee, he was struggling majorly financially, had to start a GoFundMe, as we see a lot of wrestlers having to do. And I just wish WWE had helped him out a little more. But I'm glad that his career is seemingly going to be celebrated posthumously. We finish off with the news that a TNA and Ring of Honor legend has wrestled his last ever match. This took place last night. Homicide teaming with Bull James, taking on Mike Santana and Afa Jr., the legendary Afa Jr., it must be said.
Legendary.
Manu, you may know him better as, in the main event of an Outlaw Pro Wrestling show. PW Insider's Mike Johnson was at the show, noted that Homicide pinned Afa Jr. after hitting him with an ace crusher. Prior to the event, on his Facebook page, Homicide wrote the following regarding this in-ring retirement.
He said, "Can't believe I'm saying goodbye, not just to a job, but to my passion, the sport of pro wrestling. Myself and Bull James versus Mike Santana, and I hate everyone, Afa Jr. The reason I'm leaving is that I went to my doctor and found out I have a cyst in my brain. I've had it for months and it's getting worse. My vision, speech are bad because of the hard hits, getting knocked out, and then hopping on a plane to travel. March 20th, Outlaw Wrestling means a lot. I want people to party and smile, except for Afa Jr. I'm a survivor. I always win my battles from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for your support. This is not goodbye. This is see you later."
I think it's incredibly brave to work a match, given what he's clearly going through there. We send him our very, very best. The guy is a genuine legend in wrestling. I think he's inspired a lot more people than wrestling fans may even realize. Some of those paying tribute to Homicide include CM Punk, Josh Alexander, Dustin Rhodes, Will Ospreay, plenty more as well. He's a former Ring of Honor world champion. He was in TNA obviously as well as part of LAX with Hernandez, X Division champion, NWA and TNA tag team champion. And the guy was incredible. He was, I think he was unlike anybody on either the TNA or Ring of Honor rosters when he was wrestling. He was just very, very unique and a true joy to watch. And it's such a shame that somebody that loved pro wrestling so much has had to call it time. But for obviously a very, very serious reason. So hopefully he's getting seen to by the best possible doctors, I'm sure he is, and makes a recovery. And then can go on and do stuff behind the scenes as well, because the guy has a wealth of knowledge.
A wealth of knowledge. If you've not seen it as well, on, I believe, Ring of Honor's YouTube channel, they've put like a sort of like a timeline of his career and everything as well. And Eddie Kingston does like a really nice little sort of part at the start, just talking about how much Homicide has inspired him and many others as well from New York too, to go on and actually pursue pro wrestling when maybe they thought that they couldn't do such a thing. Like, he's just seems like such a nice guy, and he's done so much for so many people too.
That's awesome. I'll watch that. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back with more news in just a little bit. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon.